How's it going, Dave and Comic Book Investments? So as you can see on the screen, Heritage Auction is pretty much over. I mean, they still have some other ones going today, but their main stuff is done. And as you can see, the Action Comics #1, second highest grade pedigree copy, sold for $6 million. Yes, quite a bit. I thought for some reason in my mind it would go for a little bit more, but it is what it is. Maybe just because I figured I think it is the highest ones ever sold a comic book has ever sold for. But just, I don't know, for some reason I thought I'd just go for a little bit more. I don't know. Action #1, second highest grade. You're not going to see this book. Take a good hard look at it right now because you will not see this book for probably another 10, 20, 30, maybe even 50 years. It's going to be a long, long time before you see this exact book or one higher. These are going to be put away in people's collections, never to see the light of day again. But yeah, crazy. $6 million, most expensive. But let's see how these comic books, I have a couple other pulled up, how they compare to previous ones sold. Okay, so let's look at the Action #1. Okay, so the last 8.5 to sell sold at its peak for $3.2 million. The most recent sell was, one sold for was $3.1 million. That was a 6.0 down here. So, yeah. I mean, a 9.0 sold back in 2014 for $3.2 million, and that was a long, long time ago. So basically, in 3 years, an 8.5 has doubled in price. So are comics dead? I don't know. You tell me. Doubling in price in 3 years? That's really good, especially when it's $3 million. It's not like it went from $5 to $10. All right, next we got a Batman #1 and a 2.5. If we look at it, so the last 2.5 sold in 2023, a year ago exactly, pretty much, and it sold for $215. This one sold for $150, so down quite a bit. But if you look, Batman ones have been trending down. The most recent one sold for is $100,000 for a 2.0. A 3.5 sold for $228, but that was about 7-8 months ago. So would I consider this a good price? Considering one sold for $100,000 for a 2.0, I would say this is a good fair price. Yes, they've been trending down, but this is a good price. All right, next we got Captain America Comics #1 and a 9.2 sold for $750. Okay, so let's see. The last 9.2 sold for $810,000. So this is down. A 9.4 obviously sold for $3 million. Last one sold for $810. This one's $750. So you're down, less than 10% from a few months ago. How long ago was it? Almost a year ago, like 10 months ago. So not that great, but it is what it is. Especially you factor in Heritage's fees, it's gonna be quite a bit. All right, next we got is a Detective 27. And a 3.0, first Batman, sold for $610,000. Let's see what a Batman normally sells for, or Detective 27, I should say. None ever go up for sale. The last one was 2013, sold for $217,000. So quite a jump up there. But let's see if we can find something a little more recent. I mean, you could got a Page for $1,500. Here we go. A 4.5 sold for $1.1 million. So $600,000 for a 3.0. I don't know. I feel like that's kind of a good deal for the 3.0. If a 4.5 sold for 4.5, I would assume that this Detective 27 would probably be more. I would assume this probably would go for in the 7 or 8. But okay, so went a little less. What do we got next? Okay, we got a Daredevil #1 in a 9.8. It sold for $360,000. All right, well, this is going to be the highest grade. Let's see if there's any other known copies. There's 3 at a 9.8. Okay, so you got 3 at a 9.8. So it's not by itself single highest. A 9.6 sold for $90,000. So It's kind of hard to figure out what this is worth because none's ever sold before. So 360, okay. All right, let's see. Then we got, I just picked out a few. Ones that, I picked out some that are like rare, you know, like that Daredevil, none has been sold. So, but then there's also, you know, stuff like this Fantastic 448 for Silver Surfer, a 9.8. There's definitely ones that have been sold for that. So it's easier to look up. The last known sale, $96,000. This one sold for 63. Jeez. Wow. That's way less. Let's see where they've been trending at. Okay, we got 96, 93, 81. At its peak, it sold for 108. Look at that graph, how it's like basically 2021, way, way, way up. Wow. So the last one sold for 90 something, and then this one sells for 63. That is a massive, massive drop. That is a massive, massive drop. Wow. Massive drop. Sensation Comics #1 in a 9.6. Now, I remember this book, and if I can remember correctly, this sold for close to $1 million. I want to say. I could be wrong. Do I have it pulled up? Hold on. I have to find it now. Sensation Comics #1. Let's see. Oh, maybe I was wrong. I thought, or maybe the guy said he bought the pair, the Wonder Woman 1 and the Sensations 1 for $1 million or close to $1 million. So the last time it sold was for $400,000, 2017. So, wait, what? Okay, sold for $420. Last time it sold 2017. So you're looking at like what, 7 years ago, and it sold for 400, pretty much 400 even. And this sold for 420. Ugh. Imagine holding a buck for whatever, 7 years. And yeah, it went up by 20 grand. But once you factor in Heritage's outrageous fees, you definitely lost money on this book. Wow. Well, let's see if there's any. Nope. Sold 9.6. So single highest grade. So it's not like it got beat or something. Like sometimes that happens. You buy like the single highest grade, say it's a 9.6, 9.8, whatever it is, and then someone comes and either ties it or beats it, your book becomes worth a little less or a lot less. Wow. Ooh, I would say this was low. Okay. First Iron Man in a 9.8. Single highest grade. Probably the only time it's been sold. So that one's going to be hard to track down. Yeah. Not going to find any information on this one, but at least you can look at it. Almost $1 million for first Iron Man. I think the Hulk #1 single highest grade went for close to $1 million. So we're getting to that point where it used to be like, oh, only the action ones, like the first Batman, first Superman, those were the $1 million books. Then it was like, okay, we got Spider-Man. Okay, that can be a $1 million book because, you know, it's Spider-Man. Those are the big three that everyone knows, Batman, Superman, and Spider-Man. But now it's getting to the point where it's like, the second tier characters like the Hulk, Iron Man, people like that are going to be worth, Journey in Mystery. So first Thor, stuff like that. Those are going to be $1 million comic books. And yeah, no one could have predicted like back in like 80s and 90s that this would have happened. I still remember this time this customer told me, he's like, yeah, the option to buy an action #1 is about mid-grade for $25,000. And this was probably early 90s, I think he said. And he was going to take out second mortgage on his house, but his wife didn't let him. See, don't listen to your wives. Buy those comic books. Now that thing's worth millions. And what's your house worth? Probably not even close to that. All right. Strange Tales, #110. First Doctor Strange in a 9.6. That's Turtles. Let's see. Nope, I already did that one. Man, I have to pull it up. I closed it out. Strange. Why am I getting Strange Tales? All right, Strange Tales, 110. See, a 9.6. Doesn't sell often. Last one sold was 2016 for 60 grand. A 9.4 did sell for 72. So basically, a 9.4 sold for 72. This is double. It could be, yeah. It's hard with these books that never sell. Okay, Superman #1. I tried to have all these things pre-pulled up so I don't have to search for them, but I must have missed a few. All right, Superman #1 and a 5.0 sold for $500,000, $500,000. All right, what is a Superman? Superman, it's hard to get a high grade. Okay, a 7.0, which is not the highest grade, sold for $2.3 million. That was the most recent sale. A 5.0 sold for $72,000, but that was a year ago. Or sorry, $720,000. So quite a massive jump down. 5.0 more recently sold in January of 2023 for $675. A 3.0 sold for $330. So a 2.0 sold for $260. So if you just kind of go, a 2.0 is like 2 something, a 3.0 is 3 something, a 5.0 is 5 something, then I guess it makes sense. But to me, you're going higher up in a grade, which makes it way more rare. Especially this book. For example, you got 1 at 8.5, 1 at 8.0, 1 at a 7.5, 2 at a 7.0, 0 at a 6.5, 2 at a 6.0, 3 at a 5.5, and 4 at a 5.0. So it's a little more rare. I would expect this book to have gone higher, especially since the previous one sold for what, like 7 something? Yeah. So that to me is low. Let's see. Turtles. Turtles is next. Got Superman. Oh, there's Strange Tales. Turtles. All right, Turtles #1, a 9.8. I know this has probably dropped quite a bit. 9.8. Okay, what do we got here? Most recent one sold for 132. This is probably through Heritage as well. This one sold for 126, so it's going down. It did. If you look at this, like the top was 245, like $250,000 for a 9.8. Then it sold for 230 a little bit later. Then 2022, it sold for 186, then 156, then dropped down to 120, went up to 132, and it has dropped down back to 126. So I would say that this book is probably worth anywhere from 120 to 140. That's at a 9.8. That's if you could find someone that's willing to pay that price. That's probably what it's worth, somewhere in there. I'd say 120 is definitely on the low end. So it looks like maybe this book is stabling out at in that range. There's 35 at a 9.8, so that's why there's such a big swing. All right, let's look at this Wonder Woman #1 for $100,000. To me, that seems low. I'm just going off my gut feeling. I'm going to say that $100,000 for this Wonder Woman 1 is a bit on the low side. Okay, so Wonder Woman 1, the last time an 8.0 sold back in 2020 for $120,000. It was a long time ago. There's just nothing recent to compare it to at all. I mean, a 6.5 sold for $73,000. A 5.5 sold for $66,000 or $63,000. Same with the 6.5, another 6.5. So an 8.0, a 4.5 sold for $48,000. I don't know. It seems a little low. Hey, stop that. Sorry, my dog has a new toy. But yeah, that's kind of it. Me, seems a little low, especially that higher grade. Let me know if you guys are bidding on anything in here. You have some very deep pockets if you do. And let me know if you won anything. And let me know if you thought the prices were good prices, bad prices. Overall, just the ones I kind of glanced at, I would say overall most things did pretty well. I did glance at Avengers 196, and that sold for about $100,000 over the previous one. That was back in 2021, so at its peak, sold for like 3 something. This one sold for 4 something in this auction. So yeah, overall, I think it looks like these top end books are, for the most part, you can't say that every single book has gone up. This is not like 2021 where every book just went up. But there were some that went down, but seemed like the big ones were up. It's crazy that we're getting now into the second tier of characters are now pushing $1 million for their top end book. One day those books are going to be probably like $2 million for Tales of Suspense, 39 and a 9.8, a 9.6 will be, $1 million. And that's probably where we're going to head at some point. Anyways, have a great day.